So this is our static stretch recovery, our cool down routine. All right, so we're gonna hold all these movements for a little while. All right, I'm gonna give you a target area. I want you to feel it there. We want a nice passive stretch, so a passive pull. I don't want you to force anything. Don't rock back and forth on anything. Don't crank down on anything. Nice passive pull, right? Which means if you're in the position and you have to get out of it, that's not passive. That's too intense for you, all right? So back out of it. Don't worry about what your neighbor's doing or what they look like. Just focus on you, all right? So the first one we're gonna do is a single leg forward fold. So we're gonna get into this position here. Now that fold part is gonna be, we're gonna fold ourselves forward this way. So I want you to completely relax. Now there's two different ways you can do this. If you want more of an intense stretch, a pull through the hamstring and calf, get your chest up nice and tall, shoulders back, and then come forward, and you should start to feel that pull in the hamstring already. You don't have to do it this way with the upper body. You can just completely relax the spine and fall forward. I'll leave that up to you, all right? So we're gonna hold this stretch, single leg forward fold, for about 30, 40 seconds. While you're in this position, I want you to focus on your breathing. Breathe in through your nose, fill your belly up, and then breathe out through your mouth. Let's come up nice and easy, and then we'll just switch legs. And then when you're ready, we'll just fold forward, all right? Make sure we feel hamstring pull, right? Keep those toes up towards the ceiling. If you want to get a little calf stretch out of this, we can actually actively pull, right, the toes this way. You should feel a calf stretch, all right? And then we'll just load that with this stretch just by staying tall like this. That's totally fine, okay? Just stay there. Make sure we're breathing through these movements. All right, let's come out of that. So the next one is called a full saddle. All right, so a saddle position is gonna be, we're gonna be sitting on our shins just like this, all right? If you wanna go a little bit wider to make some space for your hips, so your butt's actually between your heels, you can do that, okay? You're probably gonna feel, right, an intense stretch through the shin and the top of the foot, all right? That's normal. That might restrict you from coming back into a position like this, but that's fine. If you feel that stretch right here, this is your home for today. I just want you to chill out right here, okay? Spine nice and tall, breathe. Okay? Now the target area for this is not only going to be the shin and the top of the foot, but it's also going to be, right, the quad and the hip flexor. So we should feel a nice pull from the knee, right? Nice gentle pull from the knee all the way up. So I want you guys, if you can, to try to challenge yourselves to walk back, right, and kind of get in this position here. If you want to open up, right, the hips, we can do that if that feels a little better. So we're going to hold this position, all right? Try not to let, right, the back arch, right, like this aggressively. We still want to keep, right, the hip aligned with the rib cage, so rib cage over the hip, okay? So we're just gonna stay here, breathe in, fill the belly up, breathe out, just work on that breath, try to relax the heart rate. And again, if this is too intense and we need a break, we'll just come up, kind of relax, and then when you're ready to attack again, we'll come back into it. Okay, good, let's sit up, nice and tall. If you need to, get some blood flow back to the legs, just extend real quick, kind of shake it out, all right? Relax the feet. Our next two positions, we're gonna come back to the saddle, but we're not gonna lean back. We're gonna stay nice and vertical with the spine, all right? So let's go to our next one. We're gonna grab our band. This one's called a full saddle archer, okay? So we're gonna take the band. I'm gonna have to do kind of a 360 in a minute, but we're gonna take the band in one hand, we're gonna let it fall behind, and then we're gonna take our other arm, internally rotate at the shoulder, and then try to grab up as high as we can, right? Just like this. And try to inch those hands closer together. Right now, notice what's happening. I don't want my rib cage to pop up like this, okay? I still want to stay nice and stacked up, all right? So rib cage over the hips. Try to get closer. Now the next part, to kind of make this a little bit more spicier for you, open the elbow up and open the elbow up. So we're nice and proud with the chest. So we're gonna breathe into this position. So right into the nose, belly rises, then chest, then relax, okay? Right, again, if we have to come out of this, come out of it, take a little break. Keep that head up, so ears over the shoulders, good. Good, let's switch sides. This one's kind of intense, right? So we'll switch sides, so we'll go to the other side now. Again, rib cage over the hips, right? Nice and tall. Open those elbows up, right? Open the shoulders up. Keep your head up, ears over your traps. ears over your shoulders. Right, we're not pulling on the band at all. We're just, right, if you want more kind of pull out of that shoulder, just try to get your hands closer together behind, right? So no pulling, right, nice and relaxed. We're not squeezing anything in the body. We're just kind of flowing. Work on that breath, belly expansion, rib cage expansion, let it go. Good, relax. We can put the band to the side. Let's kind of shake it out, get the legs extended, give them a break. Right, move those ankles around, get some blood flow back. This is our last saddle position, I promise. All right, back to it. Last one, back to full saddle. This one's a little less intense. This is full saddle for the shoulder. So all we're gonna do is cross, just like this. I don't want you to keep your arm extended. I want you to actually hug behind, right? And try to use this forearm to push, right? To get that scap, that shoulder blade in the back on the opposite side, right? Kind of pulling towards the front. So same thing, don't overextend with the rib cage, right? Stay nice and stacked, rib cage over the hips. Breathe into this position, right? Try to expand that breath, that rib cage in the back by that scap. So mobilize those deep tissues of that rib cage, okay? So we're here. Want a little bit more out of it, we can pull a little bit more. And then work on that breath. Find a position, hold it, breathe. Try to work on getting more air in, right, as we go, more volume in. Good, let's relax, shake it out. And when you're ready, we're just gonna transition to the other side, right? Hand behind, try to grab that shoulder blade on the other side, and then we're pulling on that shoulder blade on the other side. Breathe, belly rises first, then rib cage. Good, let's straighten the legs out again, last time. The next position we're gonna do is called child's pose, okay? So two things to think about here, right? We wanna make sure the hips stay back towards the heels. A lot of times when we do child's pose, the butt tends to lift and come forward. So we want those hips to stay between the heels, right? Back as far as we can. Now we're gonna do the opposite pull of force in the front. So as the hips are going that way, right, I want you to reach out with your arms in front. And what you're doing is actually, I want you to think about, right, the vertebrae of your spine, right, decompressing and pulling apart, which is essentially what we're trying to do in a child's pose. So if you're doing this correctly, you should feel a nice pull through the lumbar spine, right, top of the, right, the bottom of the hips and the back, okay? So we're gonna get into kind of a saddle, but we're just gonna open up, right, the hips just like this. So I wanna keep the hips here. Now I'm just gonna fold forward, right, chest towards the ground. And I want you to drive your head towards the ground, and I want you to try to reach out as far as you can, but keep your hips back behind you, all right? If you need more space here, open your hips up further, right? We shouldn't be laying on our thighs, all right? I want you to keep trying to reach back, make this an active position, so we're reaching back with the hips, we're reaching with the arms in the front, right? We should feel a nice pull through the lats, right? The serratus, the rib cage should be pulling apart, right? Keep those hips down and back. Right, keep reaching back. Keep trying to inch out, try to gain some ground to the front, right, a little bit at a time. Completely relax. Again, breathe into this compressed position. So breathe in, fill the belly up. You're gonna feel that pressure against the hips and the thighs. Fill the belly up, and then chest, and then breathe out. Into the nose, out through the mouth. Keep those hips down, keep fighting for that position. Good, and come up. We're gonna come up to a kneeling position, so just choose a knee, and we'll just put it up in front, okay? This next one's called the dragon pose. We're gonna go left and then right, or right and then left, wherever you are, okay? So the focus for this is actually gonna be the back leg that's behind you. It's gonna be the hip flexor and the quad. So what I want you guys to do is, nice and tall with the spine, right? Find a position where we can load the heel, big ball, right, and little ball, so we get our tripod foot. And all I want you to do is squeeze this back glute, right, so the hips go from tilted to neutral. So squeeze that butt cheek, and you're gonna feel some tension right here. It's not gonna feel comfortable. That's your hips coming neutral, all right? Now we're gonna load that position. So I want you to keep pressure in the heel and just move, right, this shin that way. And as soon as you start to go, if you're keeping this glute squeezed, you should feel a pull in this hip flexor right here. This is a good way to mobilize your hips in the front, okay? So nice and tall with the spine, shoulders down, right? And we're continuously trying to load that position. Again, don't force this. This is the easy one to force because you're using your body weight. Find a passive pull in that hip flexor and you're just hanging out, you're just chilling, all right? Nice and tall, breathe. If you want to explore a deeper position, right, we can do that, but try not to get kicked out really quick. So see if you can hold it for a little bit, mobilize that tissue, right? If you can't handle it anymore, come back, try to find a more passive position, and just hold that. Spine nice and tall. We're not, right, rib cage not coming up, all right? Not crunching the back, nice and tall. Good, and relax. So just shift back, release that tension from the hip flexor, switch sides. Pressure in the heel, make sure we feel balance in the heel, big ball, little ball of the foot. Squeeze that back glute on the other side. Get that tension in the hip, and now shift that weight forward. Drive that shin, this front shin, over that foot. Keep squeezing that glute, give yourself a little check. Squeeze the glute, push the hips forward, come back and relax. The last one we're gonna do, right, we can relax, knees down. We're gonna do a spinal twist, a classic spinal twist on both sides, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay flat on the ground, just like this. Keep your shoulders against the ground, body nice and flat. I want you to raise one knee up as high as you can. Put your arm on the opposite side, put your hand on top of that thigh, and just let your hips fall to the side, right? Now the goal is keep your shoulders on the ground. So both shoulders should be in contact with the ground, all right? Don't pull on your leg, just let the weight of your thigh, your leg, dictate where you are right now, all right? So just let it fall. I want you to breathe into this position. You'll notice as you breathe, you're probably gonna be able to drop that leg a little lower. So breathe into the nose, fill the belly up, out to the mouth, and try to relax those tissues of the lower back so we can achieve a lower position. Breathe in, breathe out. We're not squeezing anything. Don't squeeze. Just let it happen. Good, very slowly extend that leg. Drop the hip. Take a second. Good, let your back and hips kind of adjust back to where they are. Now when you're ready, lift that opposite knee high on the chest. Get that hand over the knee on the side, and then let that weight of that leg dictate how far you go. Let the hips go to the side. Keep the shoulders down. Make sure we're breathing. Breathe in, fill the belly up. Breathe out through the mouth. Extend that leg. Drop the hips. Give yourself a second to align. And then when you're ready, we'll just roll up. Sit up nice and tall. That's our static stretch for recovery. All right? Good job, guys. Nice training today. Good job.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Fitness with Coach Ben.